please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. This morning will be led by Dr. Sue Cole of the Delaware County Reading Council and principal of Edgewood Elementary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we would ask you to please remain standing for our invocation by Brian Dillon of our Public Relations Department for Delaware County Library Services.
Dear God, give us humility to realize that we are called not to be perfect, but to be clear, not to be infallible, but to be fair. Direct those in our generation who speak where many listen, who write what many read, and who show what many see, that they may do their part in making the heart of our people wise, its mind sound, and its will righteous. Amen.
Amen.
And I would direct everybody's attention to item number 4 on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 7th, 2018. I would recognize Ms. Marone for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 7th, 2018.
Second the motion.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I had one small typo fix that confused Mike Madden, our solicitor, with me, Kevin Madden, and I shared that with him prior to the meeting, so that's my only comment.
Which would you rather be?
That's a good question.
So with the correction of that typo, is there any further discussion of the minutes? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 5.
Move for the authorization to advertise for bids to furnish and deliver 10 Journeys bariatric bed frames, model number RCUHLB850 for Fair Acres Geriatric Center.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. I note that Mr. Troilo is here, the Director of Central Purchasing. We did discuss this item yesterday at the agenda meeting. Is there any discussion on item number 5? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 6.
Move for the approval to purchase one 2018 Chrysler 300 all-wheel drive vehicle and one 2018 Durango SSV all-wheel drive vehicle from Vidian Dodge Chrysler Jeep of Newtown Square on CoStar's contract number 026-065 and number 013-121 at a cost not to exceed $54,207. Vehicles are for use by CID and subject to solicitor's approval.
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Hudak, the Director of our Fleet Management, is here. So you described this item for us yesterday at the agenda meeting. Why don't you give us another brief description?
Sure. Anytime we have departures or anything in a department, we go over how many vehicles they have, what their use are. We had a couple departures last year. We remodified the fleet, left us with just the correct amount of cars for the detectives. Since January, we've hired 2 new detectives, so we're in need of 2 new vehicles for that department.
Is there any discussion on item number 6?
I have a couple of questions. Are you the one who ultimately decides who the winning bidder would be then after it goes to the CoStars?
Yes.
You are? Okay. Are you made aware of the amount and or propensity of any of the bidders to donate to any of the political parties?
I have not.
Okay, so that's not something that you take into consideration.
My process is I figure out, talk to the department, figure out the need, what kind of vehicle we need. I go to the CoStars list. I try to find a Delaware County dealer first that's on the CoStars list, and I get prices from the Delaware County CoStars people first.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion on item number 6? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice day, folks.
Item number 7.
Move for the approval of Central Tax Collection Department's request for refunds for the year 2017 county real estate taxes for 2 property owners due to the overpayment of taxes due.
Second motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Mr. Dowd, our treasurer, is here. So,
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council. I'm asking for 2 refunds of property owners who overpaid their taxes for 2017.
is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Dowd.
you.
The next items number 8 and 9. Mr. Beerling, our Director of Public Works. Why don't you describe those for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of council. I'm requesting approval of amendment number 2, to contract number 80051 for the reconstruction of the Addingham Bridge, County Bridge number 73, Clearwater Construction from Mercer, PA, to decrease the contract sum in the amount of $54,374.56, subject to the solicitor's approval. The new amended contract price is now $1,867,339.148. We have a new contract sum, including this deduct change order of $1,812,964.96, leaving us a previous certificate of total payments of $1,808,768.75, and a current payment due of $4,196.21. This project is now finished, and as you can see, we did receive discount, a decrease in the amount, and this was done in part to the contractor finishing construction ahead of the completion time. This project was done in cooperation with PennDOT oversight through the EMS. It's the Engineering, Construction, and Management System which we use for all bridges in the county.
I recognize Ms. Barone for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Beerling. Move for the approval of amendment number 2 to contract number 80051 to Clearwater Construction Incorporated for reconstruction of Addingham Bridge, County Bridge number 73 at Rosemont Avenue over Darby Creek, to decrease the contract sum in the amount of $54,374.56, subject to solicitor's approval.
Second motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 9, Mr. Beerling, you can describe that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of council. Mayor requesting approval of amendment number 1 to contract number 47986 for the construction of the Chester Creek pedestrian trail to J.D. Ekman of 4781 Lower Road at Glen, PA 19310. Decrease the contract sum in the amount of $317,309.18, subject to the solicitor's approval. To decrease the contract sum in the amount of $317,309.18. The contract sum prior to this change order was $6,573,713.85. We now have a new contract sum with the deduct change order of $6,256,404.67. This is the first phase of this project, and as you can see, we have an increase in the contract amount. Thank you.
Is it correct, Mr. Beerling, both of these, 8 and 9, these are in essence the wrapping up of both of these contracts? The
Yes.
Adjustment for quantities not used that were estimated in the original
Exactly.
contract?
Exactly.
So I recognize Ms. Barone for motion number 9.
Thank you. Move for the approval of amendment number 1 to contract number 47986 to J.D. Ekman Incorporated for construction of the Chester Creek pedestrian trail to decrease the contract sum in the amount of $317,309.18, subject to solicitor's approval.
Second motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion or questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's happened. Thank you very much, Mr. Beerling. Item number 10, I recognize Joe Doherty, the Director of Human Services for the County of Delaware.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council. This morning, I asked for your approval of training contract. The State Department of Drug and Alcohol is requiring all of our drug and alcohol providers to be trained on this American Society of Addiction Medicine criteria. This would be for assessments, placement, continued stay, and discharge. This is funded with 100% state dollars, and Training for Change, tough to say, is the sole provider of these trainings across the state. So I ask for your approval. This will train about 120 people within the county of our providers. I also ask your approval of 3 subsidized daycare providers. Human Services holds the grant to run the subsidized daycare program in Delaware County. And this is 100% state and federal dollars, and the eligibility for this is based on the individual's income.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Move for the approval of agreements, contracts, and amendments with the Human Services Providers of Services as per the attached list, subject to solicitor's approval.
Second the motion.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Doherty. It's my privilege to be able to present council's resolution recognizing Engineers Week in 2018. When we go about our lives, we might not give much thought to the countless amount of engineers who created, designed, and built the machines, roads, buildings, and systems that we use on a daily basis. The truth is that engineers of all kinds, aeronautical, civil, mechanical, chemical, electrical, and more, have applied their education, innovation, and skills to help improve our lives. Across the nation and in Delaware County, engineers work to make sure America is ready for a technological tomorrow. Engineers work to improve the productivity of our businesses, the quality of our products, and the safety of our workplaces. Engineers provide the important technical information for our legislators needed to shape future public policy. The field of engineering is vital to the progress of our county as well as our nation. Each year, the National Society of Professional Engineers observes National Engineers Week in celebration of the profession that has been instrumental in making the United States the world's most advanced technological society. This year, Engineers Week will be celebrated February 18th through the 24th with the theme as Engineers Inspiring Wonder. Our engineers in Delaware County are very active in the community with our educational institutions to train the nation's future scientists, technicians, and engineers. They help with several youth math and science programs such as Math Counts, Future City, the Delaware County Science Fair, and several scholarship activities. Our engineers partner with our educational institutions to train the nation's future scientists, technicians, and engineers. Next week, the Delaware County chapter of the Pennsylvania Society of Professional Engineers will celebrate with an awards banquet on February 21st at the Concordville Inn. They will honor Charles J. Catania Jr. as the Delaware County Engineer of the Year, Joshua Treisner as Young Engineer of the Year, Dave Campbell received the 2018 Lifetime Achievement Award, and the Chester Road Route 320 Swarthmore Roundabout is recognized as Project of the Year. Attending this morning's meeting on behalf of the Delaware County chapter of the Pennsylvania Society of Professional Engineers are Michael Sioco of Catania Engineering, Eileen Nelson of Stantec, Nick Cirilli of Cirilli Associates and President of Yerkes Associates, Charles Catania, our aforementioned award winner, Susan Best, Dave Campbell, another award winner, and Lisa Catania. So we would welcome those individuals to step up and love to present you with this resolution.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, well, congratulations. Thank you all. Next week, you're all set.
Oh, is that right?
Thank you. For item number 12, I'll recognize Councilman Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the past several years, communities across the country have launched reading programs that encourage everyone to read a book. The goal is to promote literacy and to bring communities together through their mutual interest in one book. In Delaware County, we have a program known as All Delco Reads, organized through the Delaware County Reading Council. The theme for this year is One World, Many Stories, and 4 outstanding books have been selected that exemplify this theme, including the high school and adult reading selection, Every Falling Star by Sung-Ju Lee and Susan McClellan. Every Falling Star is the intense true story memoir of a North Korean boy named Sung-Ju, who is forced at age 12 to live on the streets and fend for himself. To survive, Sung-Ju creates a gang and lives by thieving, fighting, begging, and stealing rides on cargo trains. Sung-Ju richly recreates his personal story, depicting what it was like for a boy alone to create a new family with his gang, his brothers, to be hungry and to fear arrest, imprisonment, and even execution. This riveting memoir allows young readers and adults alike to learn about other cultures where freedoms they take for granted do not exist. Today, we are pleased to promote this great literacy program. County Council is partnering with the Delaware County Reading Council and our library system to urge young people and adults to read this remarkable true story and to discuss the book among friends in organized book clubs or at library programs. There are also reading selections for middle school, elementary, and kindergarten students. Residents have many different ways to access the book selections, from obtaining a copy at their local library or by downloading it onto their digital device. If you are not a member of your local library, we highly recommend that you join and get a library card. That is your ticket to hours of reading, either with books from the library or by downloading ebooks from our library system website. With us today from the Delaware County Reading Council, we have Dr. Susan Culp, principal of Edgewood Elementary School, and Marcia DeSantis, a reading specialist at Edgewood Elementary. From our Delaware County Library System, we have Director Kathy Biddle and members of her staff, including Janice Stubbs, Kristen Suda, Cherry Crow, and Brian Dillian. I would now ask them all to come forward to accept this resolution.
These are all the different selections.
Yeah, I know, despite the names. It's not that.
Returning to our agenda, I'll recognize Ms. Marone for motion on item number 13.
Move for a request by the Controller's Office for the payment of current bills.
Second motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Solicitor, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One item of business this week. This week I'm inviting council to ratify a motion to intervene I filed in the Adelphia Gateway LLC matter before the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. This is not a matter that Delaware County has any specific jurisdiction over or will be granting any permits for or anything like that. But I wanted to enter my appearance so that council had the opportunity to participate if you so choose. Adelphia Gateway is seeking to repurpose the southern 50 miles of an existing 84-mile pipeline. That pipeline originally took oil from Marcus Hook northward to Northampton County, and Adelphia is proposing to repurpose that pipeline, carry natural gas southward along that route. The northern 34 miles was converted to carry natural gas in 1996, so this would be the remainder of the pipeline. Adelphia provided notice of its filing with FERC to Delaware County municipalities dated January 26th, and the deadline to intervene was yesterday. The pipeline runs through Concord, Chester Heights, Bethel, Upper and Lower Chives, and into Marcus Hook. So the action I would request consideration on today is a motion to ratify my intervention in that matter.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Is there a member of council who wishes to make a motion to approve and ratify the intervention of Delaware County with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission matter involving the Adelphia pipeline?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, and just to clarify, I believe what we heard Mr. Solicitor yesterday was that this motion essentially allows you to insert ourselves as a party to the ongoing process of this pipeline being converted, and allows us to be informed in a way about how it's happening, and to the extent that we have any actions we'd like to take, this gives us the ability to do so. I'm saying this in a very non-legal way, but that's the way I understand this.
Yeah, I don't know if I could have used any better terminology. This really, it would, if granted, this motion would make us a party to the matter, which would enable us to issue comment down the road or file any motions that council deems fit. In addition, it allows me to e-subscribe to the filings in the matter so that I can read other people's comments on it, and if there's anything that seems appropriate for council's consideration, provide that to you as well.
And so in no way is this an explicit or implicit approval on the part of Delaware County of the change?
We didn't take any position on this change in this filing. It simply stated that we thought it was a matter of public importance in Delaware County.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Is there any other business that any member of council wants to bring forward?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to bring up the issue of the pipeline that we've had as a discussion at several of our public meetings over the past several weeks, and to make a recommendation for a motion on that. So I will give some additional information and give that proposal if that is okay with the chair.
Go ahead, state whatever business.
Thank you. So we've had lots of conversations about this issue over several of our meetings, and we've appointed council members to review and to come up with recommendations. And we've gone through several iterations that we've reviewed between council. And as I said a few weeks ago, I felt that a compromise was very close and that would be attainable. And I feel that with the recommendation that I'm looking at presenting today, it compromises all of the positions and just takes into account recommendations from all of county council members in this recommendation. Safety is very important to me as a council member, and economic development and economic impact is very important to me. And I think that they both need to coexist in our community and to be able to both thrive in our community. I think this recommendation is a balance of all of those things. And as I said, takes into account a combination of the recommendations from all of county council into that compromise and collaboration position that I felt was very important to recommend to council. With that being said, my recommendation is for the Delaware County pipeline hazard analysis with an objective to define the scope and methods of conducting a hazard analysis for awareness, emergency preparedness, and response to address the concerns and educate the general public along the pipeline routes in Delaware County, with particular emphasis on the Mariner East 2 pipeline currently under construction. The proposal would be for the Emergency Services Department of Delaware County shall be tasked with commissioning a hazards analysis of the Mariner East project with the following directives. Number one, any directors or officers overseeing the Emergency Services Department who work for or who have done work for Sunoco or any of its subsidiaries or affiliates, collectively known as Sunoco, in the past 5 years must recuse themselves so as to maintain the credibility and impartiality of the analysis. 2, the analysis would be conducted by a vendor independent of both Sunoco and any department or agency of Delaware County or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, whom is deemed experienced and qualified to conduct the analysis as described in Part 4 below. 3, an RFP for the analysis shall be issued no later than March 14th, 2018, with responses to the RFP due no later than April 16th, 2018. The RFP process shall comply with all county purchasing policies and procedures. 4, the analysis should identify with specificity any hazards, including magnitude and probability, associated with pipeline routes in Delaware County, with a particular emphasis on the Mariner East 2 project, either its construction or ongoing operation, posed to the residents and first responders of Delaware County, and the estimated geographic areas within Delaware County impacted by such hazard. Next, request an evaluation to be provided for the most recent Pennsylvania Utility Commission and U.S. Department of Transportation PISMA review of integrity management programs on pipeline routes in Delaware County, with a particular emphasis on the Mariner East 2 pipeline under construction. Next, examine the means for first responders to address each hazard identified in the first item. Provide any recommendations for means, either in the construction or ongoing operation, of materially mitigating any risk identified in 4A. To specifically study school response should an unintended release occur. And lastly, upon its completion, to be made publicly available. And I guess I would submit that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion as stated by Ms. Maroney. Is there a second to that motion?
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a couple of seconds to the motion, Mr. Madden and Mr. Zidek. Is there a discussion on the motion?
I have some discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Polk is recommended.
I want to state on the record that I am not opposed to doing something, but I wanted to make sure we have the appropriate study. I looked on the Middletown Coalition's website and I saw that they did a hazard mitigation study. However, they're saying they didn't have the appropriate data, therefore that's invalid. Well, if we don't have the appropriate data, how are we supposed to do a study? I spoke all week. I spoke with Brian a few times. I spoke with Kevin today. I spoke with Connie. And I personally think we're rushing into this. I tried to make a compromise. We worked together. Some of my ideas are in here. But unfortunately, I think we're commissioning a study when we don't have the appropriate data right now. I was going to keep talking about a compromise, hoping we could happen. Some of my items are in here, and I'm happy to see that. But I was not ready to make the decision today. I wanted to speak about it a little longer. But I respect my colleagues' decisions to move forward. And thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start by acknowledging Mr. Culp's concerns. What I would say is, to the extent that data is not available, I believe that's up to the vendor who has chosen to ascertain that. But I'd certainly like to see that we give this an attempt as much as we can. So I want to appreciate my colleagues on County Council for taking what, as I've said before, and I think is stating the obvious, has been an exceedingly difficult topic to remove emotion from, given the fact that we're talking about people's ability to put bread on the table, and a topic that includes words like blast zone. And so I think those are quite often the topics that are most difficult to find a resolution for, because emotion can blind us to the underlying fact set. And I really applaud my colleagues here for being able to do so. So with that said, I support our move forward here. I won't say that it's the end. We don't have an analysis in hand, but I think it's a very good first start.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
I guess I'd like to make a few points as well, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly, Mr. Zhang.
I appreciate all of the work and the intensity of feelings that surrounds this subject, both amongst the members sitting on council and also from the public. I've heard from dozens and dozens of individuals, both who have come before this council to speak and who have sent emails and made phone calls discussing the issue. I've also spoken, and to be clear, most of those who I have spoken with have advocated for the conducting of some sort of a study to analyze the risks that might exist with regard to the Mariner East project. I have also spoken with others who are less inclined, shall I say, to have such a risk analysis done, and I respect their positions, and I think I understand their perspectives as well. To be clear, I want to reiterate that as I sit here today, and I don't think anybody up here sitting on council is pro or anti-pipeline. What I am in favor of is getting a scientific, independent analysis that can better inform all of our citizens of the risks that might be present with regard to the Mariner East pipeline. I have heard from grandmothers who are afraid to invite their grandchildren over for sleepovers for fear that they might be at risk. And it breaks my heart that that fear might be completely unfounded, and yet people don't have a clear way of assessing whether or not that fear is in fact unfounded. I do want to clarify that when we're speaking about a hazards analysis, and the wording is slightly different from previous proposals that have been brought forth that talked about risk assessments or quantitative risk analysis. I don't have a particular desire for the term to be one or another. If there is a term or terms that have been politicized or weaponized or are offensive to some, then by all means we should not use them. The goal is not to politicize anything here. But I want to be clear that when we talk about a hazards analysis, what I understand that we're seeking is an examination of the likelihood that a release of NGLs might occur from the Mariner East project, and then an examination of the consequences from such a release. And that release could occur either accidentally or, I suppose, purposefully as well. There are a couple other matters that I wanted to raise as well. I appreciate Mr. Culp's perspective that in the absence of getting all of the data from Sunoco, the analysis will be less useful than it otherwise would be. And I would invite Sunoco to make available to the chosen entity who's going to be conducting this analysis, to give that entity the information necessary to make sure that the analysis is accurate. So hopefully that will occur, and I guess time will tell on that. But no, I'll leave it there.
Mr. Chairman, I have just one other comment I'd like to make. I think one commonly stated concern I've heard from those who've been opposed to this analysis is that the point of this analysis is going to be to alarm the general public and to show, hazards that, would flame, further inflame those who are opposed to the pipeline. And what I want to state is that that could not be further from the truth of what the intent of this analysis really is. I think as we stand here today, we already have a lot of people who are really alarmed about what is happening. The point of this is to take what is currently in the domain of uncertainty and to put further, and we can never be fully to the end of the spectrum of certainty, but to start to put some facts to exactly just the degree of risk there is here. And to those who say we have pipelines all over the county already, we've been living with these, and therefore there shouldn't be a risk, I would love for the answer of this analysis to be that we really shouldn't be alarmed, that the likelihood of a hazardous event is in the same realm as, aliens invading in the next 15 years or a comet striking us. So I think the point here is to take what is already an uncertain situation and put some degree of certainty around it. That to me isn't, fanning the flames, but rather putting certainty to something that has too large a degree of uncertainty today.
All right, is there any further discussion on the motion? And I would just note for the record, as I had done over the last couple of weeks, I won't be voting on it, although there's not a conflict of interest under the Ethics Act. The law firm where I'm employed has done work for Sunoco, and so therefore, to avoid any appearance of impartiality, I will not participate. So with that, we will vote on the motion. What's that? With that, we vote on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
And I will not vote. So the motion passes. Thank you, members of council, for working on that issue and going forward with some proposed solution. With that, now is the time for public comment during our meeting.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, before we get to that, I did have one other matter I wanted to discuss.
Okay.
So before we get to public comment, I did have another matter I want to discuss. Section 421 of the Home Rule Charter calls for the appointment of board of elections. And my understanding is that the last such appointment occurred on February 3rd, 2016. And the Home Rule Charter further states that the term for the office of the board of electors shall be 2 years. So it seems to me that we no longer have a board of election as we sit here right now. And I wanted to take steps today to try and address that glaring absence.
Right. Well, that matter's not on our agenda today. I know that council members have sought to have candidates submit their resumes or proposals. We welcome people to do that, but those appointments are not on our agenda today.
I appreciate that, but I think there's nothing that precludes me from making a motion to speak about this right now.
Well, yes. Well, you can speak about it. I would invite you to do that during your comments at the end of the meeting. But we did have an agenda meeting where we can set the agenda. That's the whole purpose of having an agenda meeting, so that council members can discuss what is to be on the agenda, have discussion on those matters, and have time to consider whatever might be brought forward.
So it's your position that in the absence of something being on the agenda here, that we are precluded from making a motion during the council meeting?
Well, you can make a motion, Mr. Zayek, but I'm saying that, to give the courtesy to all members of council and to the public to be able to consider things. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion thus far this year about transparency and the ability for the public to know about matters and issues that would come before the council, and to be able to consider those matters, and also, to be able to comment on those matters. So, we don't have that. We have, I think, in good faith, unanimously rearranged our rules so that our agenda would be available to the public earlier, so that, members of the public can comment on that, and that members of council can consider whatever things are. So that is the reason why we generally have the agenda meeting, so that we can talk about those things and consider them.
Okay, well, I won't press the issue any further if you feel that it is, it violates the spirit of transparency. I will defer until next week, but we'll note that as we sit here today, there are no folks sitting on the Board of Elections, and we have quite a bit of work to be done before the primary and the general election this year.
Well, and that's something that I think we have certainly known that is on our radar and are considering candidates for, and I do expect that some action will be taken in the near future.
Have we received 3 names from the Republican Party as to who they would like to have serve on the Board of Elections?
We have.
Okay, and will those be shared with us?
They will. If they haven't already been circulated, we'll make sure that gets circulated today.
If they have not, so I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so as I indicated, now is the time for the public to comment. If you have a comment, please step to the microphone, just give us your name and address, and let us know what your comment is. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Tony Lucy. I'm the business agent with a member with the Operating Engineers, Local 542 Heavy Equipment Operators. I'm a lifelong resident also of Delaware County. Our members have been doing the work on Mariner 2 East and the Marcus Hook jobs. These are stable, family-supported jobs for our workers, and they represent a cross-section of disciples, from heavy equipment operators to laborers, working outside to lay the pipeline, men and women welding and connecting the pipes, and everything in between, with large membership in Delaware County. The men and the women who are working on these pipelines live here too. So we're concerned about safety as much as our neighbors. In terms of hazard analysis or risk assessment being considered Delaware County Council, it's essential that the County Council remember that risk management and adhere in the regulatory and permitting processes. These risk assessments make up the strict regulations and not be followed, and need to be followed for developing, operating, and maintaining those pipelines. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mr. Lucy, before you walk away, could you give us your address for a minute?
I'm sorry. It's 309 7th Avenue, Folsom, PA.
Thank you.
19033.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, and thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Brittany Fleming. I live at 1212 Madison Avenue, Prospect Park, PA 19076. I've been a lifetime resident of Delaware County. I love Delaware County. I am a heavy equipment operator, and I'm a member of the local 542 Operating Engineers. I have worked as an operator out on the pipeline, and I can say that everything that I've done out there has been safe, and there hasn't been any times where I've never been put into an unsafe position. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Good morning. My name is Jonathan Morgan. I am the Secretary, Treasurer, and Business Agent for Laborers International Union of North America, Local 413, 222 Penn Street, Chester, PA. For over a century, LIUMA has been a voice for the hardworking men and women of America, ensuring their right to obtain safe, well-paying jobs. Our Commonwealth is home to more than 18,000 LIUMA members who right now are helping to build infrastructure projects that are bringing new energy, job creation, and economic growth to our state and communities. We play a central role in ensuring pipelines and related assets are developed safely and responsibly, and we have a vested interest in the continued revitalization and expansion of the Marcus Hook Industrial Complex. We have already seen since its recent rebirth how this entire facility has operated safely with minimal environmental impacts while providing tremendous benefits for Pennsylvania, this region, the communities around it. Please know that Lyona members are dedicated to ensuring that every construction project at this facility is accomplished safely and efficiently. Our members undergo comprehensive, rigorous training on safety procedures and construction techniques before stepping foot on the construction site. Simply put, Lyona members possess the know-how and the experience to get the job done right. Operation of the Marcus Hook facility has and will continue to catalyze economic activity in eastern Pennsylvania and beyond. And the flare is very important to the continued operation of the complex. The project requires your review in Pennsylvania because the flare it is replacing is located on the Delaware side of the Marcus Hook Industrial Complex. The existing flare and associated piping and other components will be decommissioned. There should be no change in emissions. For decades, Sunoco has been safely operating in Pennsylvania, helping meet the state's energy needs and establishing the industry as a cornerstone of our economy. Construction of this flare will contribute to the safe operation of the Marcus Hook facility. I appreciate your attention to this matter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Council. My name is Philip Locke. I live at 357 Willis Way in Chester Heights. And first of all, I want to commend the Council for passing the motion to move forward with a hazard assessment on the ME2 pipeline. I would like to add one comment. I've had a lot of experience in my professional career doing hazard assessments, and I would recommend the following. As part of the pre-process of doing that assessment. Ultimately, when you get that assessment, you're going to get a number for an occurrence probability and a consequence factor. As an example, for occurrence, it might be a 1 in 5 year event, a 1 in 20 year event, a 1 in 100 year event. Consequence may be, as examples, of $5 million potential damage, $100 million potential damage, X amount of loss of life. I would recommend that before that hazard assessment is actually undertaken, that the Council institute an effort to define what acceptable risk is before you actually get those numbers. As an example, I would recommend that the Council put together a panel of engineers, of concerned people in the neighborhoods, of people who actually can comment on what acceptable risk is. If you don't define what acceptable risk is before you get those numbers, then those numbers are going to become political, and we're going to have some consequences that were already discussed. You'll have numbers. Some people say those numbers are fine, we can move forward. Some people say those numbers are too high, and we need to stop. It makes sense to define what acceptable risk is prior to doing the hazard assessment, so that when those numbers come back, they're numbers that are set, are scientifically sound, and there's already a thought process under what is acceptable and not acceptable. Otherwise, you're just going to get numbers back, and they're going to be critical. Also, in terms of defining acceptable risk, I would also recommend that that panel that's put together determine an action plan. So if the numbers are acceptable, then you move forward with whatever is currently underway. If they're not acceptable, then there should be a plan in place to how to ameliorate that unacceptable risk. And I would recommend that that be done before you get those final numbers back. And I would recommend that that panel also include concerned citizens